Hey viewers, my name's Kara, and today I am doing a video for you that maybe we would normally think of as being applicable around Samhain, but I'm doing it now because it is currently March of 2019, and as many of you will already know, so far this year we have lost both DJ Conway and Raven Grimassi, two of our big, prolific authors of craft-related books. I'll put it that way. That's probably the most general way to put it. A lot of people have been influenced by their writings over the years, and both of them died earlier this year. Raven Grimassi just this month, and DJ Conway at Imbolc. So last week, I had thought I really want to do a video because when these things happen, sometimes I don't even hear about them right away, and thankfully now I do because the people I follow post about these things, and some of our pagan news sources like the Wild Hunt or the Patheos Pagan bloggers will do news items and memorial posts and things like that, so we can hear about these things a little more frequently, a little more quickly, so we are aware of what's going on. But I don't always know, and it brings up this topic that I've seen a couple people talk about before on social media, that a lot of us have what we consider this idea of our spiritual lineage or our spiritual ancestors. I think this is a really obvious idea for those who are in initiatory traditions where you have an actual magical lineage leading up to you, or a spiritual lineage, or leading down to you, whatever. And the influence of who has taught you and who taught them and who taught them, that is a more obvious lineage. But for those of us who might be solitary and mostly self-taught, we might think of our spiritual ancestors or our spiritual lineage as mainly coming from the various authors whose books have taught us, or any number of people in this sense, right? So when we talk about honoring ancestors and honoring our beloved dead, another term that some people use for really well-known people, really influential in the community people, is the mighty dead. So when we talk about these things, we're not just talking about our blood relative ancestors, and we're not just talking about necessarily family and friends. We could also be talking about our ancestors of spirit. So what I have done is I made myself a list that I'm now going to read to you of a bunch of who we might consider our wider community as pagans, neo-pagans, modern witches, etc., who we might consider that wider community's elders or ancestors, spiritual lineage of kind of all of us, or not necessarily each individual one of us, because we haven't all read all these people's books. We don't all know who all of these people are. But that's the idea I was going for. I was looking for names of people who have been really influential in the neo-paganism movement as it has come down to me, as it has come down to a lot of us, and therefore some people who directly or indirectly have influenced us in a lineage type form. You will notice that there are a few names on this list, not very many, but a few names on this list, or these lists, as you will see as the video continues, that are names of people who perhaps did not identify as pagans, or who we recognize were not pagans. However, they in some way had an influence or had a part in this movement, or in helping us, helping witches, helping neo-pagans gain legal status, gain, different sorts of recognition, founders of various organizations, things like that. So you'll notice some names on here that you might be like, what, that person's pagan? And no, not everyone on this list is pagan. Most of them are. But there are also just some ones that have influenced different things. This is by no means an exhaustive list, and I encourage you in the comments to let us all know along these lines some people who you would consider your personal spiritual lineage and the people who have more directly influenced the type of path that you are on. Because I tried to really open it up and find names of people who aren't necessarily directly related to my personal path, but more of the community at large. But I definitely don't know the names of a lot of other specific paths, influential people. So please do share in the comments below. And without further ado, I am going to read you this list of names just as a way to kind of presence them here today. And I spent several hours looking up these names and also the dates of death and reading some of the stories and just little further bits of connections. So if there are any names here that you don't know, I'm going to put the list of names typed out so you have the spelling in the description of the video so you can go and look them up. And that should bring you to a Wikipedia page about them, because most of these dates I got off of Wikipedia. Some of them might be on the Circle Sanctuary website, Wild Hunt, Pathos Pagan blogs, things like that. I feel like I should do a little more ceremony with this. I didn't plan this, but my singing bowl is right here. So well, it's wanting to be very quiet today. That was anticlimactic, so we'll just do this. These are the names of those who have died, who have passed from this current lifetime, and their date of death in chronological order. Eliphas Levi, May 31st, 1875. Charles Godfrey Leland, March 20th, 1903. Arthur Edward Waite, May 19th, 1942. Dion Fortune, January 6th, 1946. Aleister Crowley, December 1st, 1947. Pamela Colman Smith, September 18th, 1951. Carl Jung, June 6th, 1961. Margaret Murray, November 13th, 1963. Gerald Gardner, February 12th, 1964. Sybil Leek, October 26th, 1982. Gwydion Penderwen, November 9th, 1982. Alex Sanders, April 30th, 1988. Scott Cunningham, March 28th, 1993. Maria Gimbutas, February 2nd, 1994. Doreen Valiente, September 1st, 1999. Marion Zimmer Bradley, September 25th, 1999. Stuart Farrer, February 7th, 2000. Leo Martello, June 29th, 2000. Tempest Smith, February 20th, 2001. Victor H. Anderson, September 20th, 2001. Eleanor Ray Bone, September 21st, 2001. Pauline Campanelli, November 29th, 2001. Cora Anderson, May 1st, 2008. Marion Weinstein, July 1st, 2009. Isaac Bonowitz, August 12th, 2010. Patricia Monaghan, November 11th, 2012. Morning Glory Zell Ravenheart, May 13th, 2014. Margot Adler, July 28th, 2014. Carl Llewellyn Weschke, November 7th, 2015. Charles Gatewood, April 28th, 2016. Gavin Frost, September 11th, 2016. Dana Eilers, February 18th, 2017. Dan Campanelli, May 24th, 2017. Raymond Buckland, September 27th, 2017. Greg Stafford, October 11th, 2018. DJ Conway, February 1st, 2019. Raven Grimassi, March 10th, 2019. That is a short list. I am sure there are many I missed. But a lot of those names I've known for a long time. Some of them I came across today while doing some last-minute searching and figuring out who should I include. Maybe that's not my path directly, but that definitely had an influence on the overall community. And I apologize if I mispronounced any of the names. I'm pretty sure I didn't say any of the dates wrong, but I will put them in the description so you can double check. But I'm not going to leave it just there. I also want to presence a lot of names of craft elders, wider community craft elders, who are still around, who are still here. Not only to thank them and give them a little shout out, but because I noticed when Raymond Buckland passed away, and then when DJ Conway passed away, this month when Raven Grimassi passed away, I see a lot of people commenting and posting, their condolences, their well wishes on the journey into the other world, commenting, saying, oh my gosh, another one of our craft elders gone. They're all gone. They're all gone now. And they are not all gone. They are very definitely not all gone. So, in finding my list of those who have passed away and their dates of death, I also looked up a bunch of people who I already know are still around, just because I wanted to look up the year that they were born, just because I'm curious. And, You might be surprised by some of them. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll put the years of birth that I was able to find online with the link, with the list in the description. But also do some Googling of people yourself. You might be surprised at people's ages. A lot of the time, if you're just familiar with them from a book that they published decades ago, you might think of them as their author photo, forever frozen at that time in their life. And, a lot of them are still around, still teaching. A lot of them are on social media, and I follow them. So if any of them happen to see this, much love to you. Also, obviously, much love to everyone who will also never see this. But I want to read you some names. I was not able to find the dates of birth for a lot of these. There are also a lot of other names that I looked up that I was not able to find any information on. So I just didn't want to include them in the list because I don't personally know them that well. They don't have a Wikipedia page, and so I'm not 100% sure if they are still around or not. So I just didn't want to put them there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't still around too. It just means I don't know. So, in really no particular order, I just started listing names as I found them in Google and going through my bookshelf and things like that. And again, not an exhaustive list. I'm sure I've missed a lot. Here are the names. I'll give them one big ring. Here are the names of some of our wider community craft elders, that's a loose term, who are still around today. Some of whom you can even follow on social media and still learn from. Silver Ravenwolf, Selena Fox, Dennis Carpenter, Starhawk, Pandora O'Mallory, M. Maca Nightmare, I think would be the pronunciation of that, Phyllis Curott, Janet Farrer, Gavin Bone, Ronald Hutton, Oberon Zell Ravenheart, Lori Cabot, Vivian Crowley, Maxine Sanders, Ed Fitch, Patricia Crowther, Yvonne Frost, Diana L. Paxson, Andras Corbin Arthen, Rachel Pollock, Mary K. Greer, Clarissa Pincola Estes, Jean Shinoda Bolen, Rowan Fairgrove, Joyce and River Higginbotham, Katrina Hopkins Messenger, Dossie Easton, Richard Webster, Daryl Cherney, Ivo Dominguez Jr., again, sorry, pronunciation, Emma Restall Orr, also known as Bobcat, Sharon Knight, LaSarah Firefox, Deborah Lipp, Yasmin Gallinorn, Orion Foxwood, Dave McKeon, Christopher Penzak, and T. Thorne Coyle. Again, obviously, oh, hold on. Again, obviously not an exhaustive list. There are many, many more teachers and influential people within our community who are still around today. I just stopped the list where I did because I feel like that span of time already encompasses like 2 generations of our spiritual lineage, kind of. And so I feel like anyone past that point is really in another generation. Like, I don't know what you would call us. It's not the same as generations X, Y, Z. It's not like that, but I think you know what I mean. As far as like neo-pagan history, the wider community, I feel like this covered a lot of ground. The youngest person on this list is Christopher Penczak, who was born in the 70s and is currently in his 40s. And the oldest person on this list is Patricia Crowther, or Crowther, I don't know for sure how to say that, who is in her early 90s. She's only a couple years younger than my grandmother. So I was surprised by some of the names on both of these lists. Either way, when I was looking them up, I was surprised that some people had passed away, and I had never read about it anywhere, such as the Campanellis. I was also surprised, really strangely, that some people are still around who I didn't realize were still around, which is like so rude, but it's because I don't interact with all of them personally, you know, or even on social media, I mean, personally. It's like, you know that someone wrote a book, you know that it was a while ago, you don't know what's going on with their life. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I liked reading more about people's lives, even briefly. You know, I didn't spend a ton of time on these, but reading little blurbs here and there, and things that I didn't necessarily know, trying to look up pronunciations of names. I even asked someone for help with pronunciation of a name that I really wasn't sure how to pronounce. Yeah. So, again, not all of these names are necessarily people that every single one of us is going to be like, yep, I consider that one of my personal spiritual ancestors. But these are a lot of names that come up frequently when you look through stuff. There are a lot of other names, obviously, that existed even when going through some of my books, like looking at who the influential people that I know of and the influential authors that I know of, looking at other authors and teachers who they recommended on their reading lists. I went through, and if I recognized that person's name, meaning that I've seen it or heard it around at least once, I probably put it on this list. But there are a lot of other names that I didn't recognize at all. That does not mean that they are not an integral part of the community in a certain way. It simply means that I don't know who they are, but that's only relevant because I'm the one making this video. It really doesn't say anything else about them. But if you look up some of the people on this list, you'll see there are, you know, obviously some tarot-related people. There are some folklorists, there are authors, there are magicians, formal teachers, there are ritual leaders and organizers, there are people who have helped fight legal battles, fighting for legal status for pagans and witches, people who have founded various pagan organizations, as I mentioned before, people who, one of the names is Charles Greenwood. Is that your name, Charles? Is that your last name? Gatewood. Charles Gatewood was a photographer who photographed a lot of pagan events, and there are a lot of really kind of famous, well-known photos that he did, and he also was a photographer of many other famous people. I do not believe he was a pagan himself, so that is one of the examples of not a pagan, but definitely involved in the community and helped get the word out, and even more specifically get the images out to the rest of the world that have been used in various documentaries, things like that. There were some names of researchers here who have brought us information about ancient religions and ancient cultures. People who have brought us information about ancient goddess sculptures and art. There is a famous publisher, the owner of a publishing company, things like that. So lots and lots and lots of different types of ways that people have been and continue to be influential to our community. When I asked this question in my Instagram story, I asked, who do you consider our craft elders of the entire community as a whole, or of your particular path? For me, the first names I think of are some of the first authors whose books I read who helped introduce me to the craft. People like Scott Cunningham, Raymond Buckland, Silver Ravenwolf, Raven Grimassi. 3 out of 4 of those are no longer with us, and that's certainly not the only names. Margot Adler, the list goes on. But most of the responses that I got, and I didn't get very many responses, I didn't check today, I don't know if I got more, but a lot of the responses that I got were people naming YouTubers, essentially. People like me, people my age, people younger than me, or just a little bit older than me. Obviously we have some other contemporary authors right now who are fantastic, and I don't even really need to say their names because you already know, or you should. And just sitting here with these lists of names in front of me, I can only be honored that there are in fact people who can attribute their finding this path to me, to my videos. I think we should all be honored that all of us on YouTube have, for someone out there, potentially been their introduction to this path that they then want to pursue and that then becomes so important to them. I think that is a great honor. I did not put any of us, anyone really even remotely close to us on this list because I just think it's a totally different thing. We absolutely are part of each other's ongoing spiritual lineage. I am learning from my essentially witchy YouTube contemporaries, just as they learn things from me, just as much as newer practitioners learn from us, just as much as we have learned from other people who were before us. But this video, I just really wanted to focus on reminding us all that witchcraft didn't start on YouTube, that this, our collective spiritual path and journey, did not start with the internet. And we give each other so much credit all the time because that's great. And I just think that every now and again, it's good to remind ourselves that these people, whose names I said earlier in this video, and many other people whose names I did not say in this video, made what we are doing possible through what they did, through their being public, being open with their path, through their fighting for our legal rights and recognition, through their social justice work, through their environmental activism, through their authorship and their writing and publishing of books, through their teaching, their community organizing, their ritual leadership, through their blog posts when the internet did come around, through all different types of ways. These people, whether we agree with every word they ever said in their life or not, which is highly unlikely, deserve some amount of credit for paving the way. And, especially if you're really into a certain tradition, the people who started that, the people who made that possible, the people who started the traditions, who influenced that tradition, the people who, if you're really into tarot, the people who are really instrumental and well known in the tarot world. You know, I had some of those names in there. And just so many other things I could say. But yeah, I try to, and I suppose I can just say I do, have a real reverence for these people, these human beings who have been, again, just so influential in whatever their personal way. Big, small, you know, major influence, minor influence, it all helped shape where we are today and what we are able to do. So, and for those who are still around, they continue to shape who we are today and the type of content that's out there and the way that some of us learn and the way that some of us found our path, which we then took and ran with. So I have, in one way or another, whether I feel they've directly influenced me or not, I have some form of gratitude to offer to these people, some amount of thanks to give. And so I just want to say thank you to all of these people, all of those people who are still around today, and all those whose names and dates of death were read. Thank you so much for everything you've done. And thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time. Please do share your ancestors of spirit or who your maybe favorite or most influential to you personally craft elders are. And I will see you next time. Until then, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.